Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me. My name is Mike Saunders. I'm the Director of Research and Development at Unicity. I'm going to be talking today a little bit about Unimate, which is one of my favorite products. This is going to be hopefully a monthly presentation where you learn more about products from either myself or one of the Unicity Science Advisory Board members like Dr. Bickman. We're going to start off by talking about Unimate, and it's probably going to be about a half an hour or so. But before I do that, I just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction about who I am. Like I said, I'm the Director of Research and Development at Unicity. I've been with Unicity for around 3 years, and I've been in research and development for a little over 15 years. A big portion of my time was in the pharmaceutical industry. And prior to that, I got my master's degree in organic chemistry. So I'm a scientist at heart, really hardcore into research and development. And one of the things that I really enjoy is understanding how our products work, why our products work, what they do, and what they can do for me. That's really one of the reasons why I'm so interested in Unicity and so interested in Unicity products, is because I use Unicity products. I'm going to give a little bit of stories today about Unimate and how it's helped me personally in multiple different ways. To start off, the key thing about Unimate, what does it do? Its first effect that you really notice and that you feel when you take Unimate is the effect in the brain, the mental boost. We all know that metabolic health starts in the brain because the brain's really the command center for our whole body. So if we want to keep our whole body in line with good metabolic balance, we need to make sure that we're taking care of the brain. When our brain is not in balance, we tend to have problems with depression, decreased productivity. You just feel like you want to give up. This picture actually is kind of summarized the way I feel sometimes. There's times in my life where I have lots of people pushing at me from lots of different directions. It might be my boss in Singapore who's trying to make sure that I get all the things done that I need to for him, or my direct reports here in Utah trying to ask questions of me and get direction on their products and projects that they're working on. Or it could be my wife at home needing things from me. And it leads to feeling overwhelmed. And when I feel overwhelmed, sometimes it makes it to where I don't even feel like I can do the things that I normally enjoy doing. Normally I enjoy going to the gym, but I feel overwhelmed. I don't even want to do that anymore. So what I do is I take a Unimate. And what that does is that allows me to get that mood boost and that feeling that I really feel like I can do anything. So Unimate is one of Unicity's truly unique products. It's a brain health product. It's a genomeceutical product, but it's different than any other product that I've ever experienced myself. It's one of the examples that I use for how Unicity makes products that are blue ocean and different than anything else out there, because Unimate has effects that really aren't duplicated anywhere else. And that's just the mood boosting effects. That's the ones that most of us are familiar with. We know that Unimate, many of us know that Unimate starts with yerba mate. Yerba mate is a plant that grows in South America, predominantly in Argentina. And this plant has traditionally been used for many, many years in Argentina and the surrounding area as a tea that gives a little bit of a mood boost, a little bit of a pick-me-up. And people all sit in groups and drink it. And the plant itself, yerba mate, is pretty well known to have a lot of health boosting effects. So at Unicity, we started to study this plant. And we started to look into what are the active ingredients in this plant. What is it that makes this plant work? We started to look into how it's grown, how to maximize the amounts of certain biologically active compounds in the plant. And then we started to look at how to get those compounds out of that plant and into our product. And that really led to a process that is pretty unique to Unicity. We start out by handpicking the ideal leaves at the ideal time of the growing season. And then we have a fire roasting process that's actually very critical. If you don't fire roast the leaves, you can't get any of the active ingredients out, or as much of the active ingredients out of the leaf itself. Then we do an extraction process where we pull out those active molecules and then we concentrate them. And then the final step is to do a purification process where we're removing trace impurities, heavy metal toxins, things like that, not only to give you the highest quality product, but also because it enhances the activity of the product itself. These trace impurities actually mute the biological effect of the active ingredients. So the end result of this 5-step process is a product that has 375 times the amount of chlorogenic acid than standard yerba mate powder. This is a dramatic difference between yerba mate and Unimate. And this is something that I've had to discuss with a few distributors. I had a distributor friend who was talking about how they were using a yerba mate product rather than talking about Unimate. And that really does a big disservice to Unimate, because Unimate is nothing like yerba mate. It's all in the dose. You'd have to drink 375 cups of yerba mate tea to get to what Unimate is. And that has a total change in biological effect. The molecules in there have higher concentrations in your bloodstream, and they interact with your body in a different way because of those higher concentrations. That's what gives Unimate its unique, great effect. It's a genomeceutical product. We know multiple ways it's a genomeceutical product. If you look at chlorogenic acid activity in the brain, there's multiple genes that regulates. And we're finding some new interesting science about some of the mate-specific saponins, which are a specific molecule, a triterpene molecule that interacts with the body in a unique way to help your body burn fat better. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later. I like this next picture because I understand how when I drink Unimate, I feel more like the lady in this picture. Rather than the gentleman earlier that looked overwhelmed, I feel like the lady in this picture, which really looks like she can do anything. And that's why I love Unimate. Another reason why I love Unimate is something that we haven't talked about quite so much, and that's Unimate and sports performance. Sports performance is something that for me is near and dear to my heart. I'm a competitive powerlifter, and I've been competing and lifting for almost all my life, competing for the last a little over 10 years now. And I was always trying to find ways that I could make my own competition turn out better and make myself perform better. And I was probably one of the first people that ever tried Unimate in the context of athletic performance. And it turns out that I was getting these research samples of Unimate because I work at Unicity R&D and trying them out. And one day I was going to the gym, and I didn't really want to go to the gym. I had one of those overwhelming days where I just didn't feel productive. I didn't want to go do what I was supposed to do. And so I took a Unimate, and sure enough, I felt better, and I ended up going to the gym. And not only did I get to the gym, but I ended up having a great workout. And so I started taking Unimate more and more before my workouts. And then I started to incorporate Unimate in my competitions. I do powerlifting, which means I do the heaviest squat that I could do, the heaviest bench press that I can do, and the heaviest deadlift that I can do. And then the combined total of those is the winner of the event, whoever has the most weight in the combined total. And I would take a Unimate before my squat, and then I would take a Unimate before my bench, and then I would take another Unimate before my deadlift. And I did this in one competition, the first competition that I did this in, and I had a really good effect. And for the first time ever in competition, I actually set a personal best in deadlift in competition. That's the last lift. Usually by the time deadlift rolls around, I was feeling too beat up to really do anything. And this time I actually did very well in deadlift. So I continued to use Unimate. And then the next competition that I used Unimate in, I took Unimate before my squat, and then I squatted a world record. And then I took Unimate before my bench, and I benched a world record. And then I took Unimate before my deadlift. I didn't deadlift a world record, but my total for all my lifts combined was then high enough that I had a total that was also a world record. So Unimate is one of those things that really, truly helped my athletic performance. And so we started to look at what it does in the body. And we actually found that it enters into the muscle cells and it reduces oxidative stress in the muscle cells. And this is a really critical thing because when you're exercising, one of the key reasons why our muscles fail is because of oxidative stress. When we hit that point where we can no longer go any further, oxidative stress is one of the key issues there. And oxidative stress is one of the key factors in causing muscle soreness the next day. So we also get significantly less muscle soreness the next day, which allows us to recover faster and then be able to exercise harder sooner so that we can have a cumulative exercise effect that's greater. Just as a single dose exercise effect, we looked at some of the results of what Unimate can achieve, and we found a modest 5% increase in aerobic training. And similar to what I found, we found a significant increase in resistance training, which is generally anaerobic training, of 13%. That's a dramatic increase. If I can lift 13% more weight, that's the difference between coming in second in my weight class or setting a world record potentially. So for me, Unimate is incredibly valuable as far as an athletic performance booster. Now, we've also looked at other aspects of Unimate and health. And one of the key aspects of Unimate and health that we focused on is Unimate blood lipid data. And we really were interested in a dramatic reduction in triglycerides. And why is this reduction in triglycerides happening? Now, we're also interested in body measurements and why are people losing weight when they're taking Unimate? Why does it make a difference as far as fat loss? And so we started studying this. One of the things that we started to look at was what molecules in Unimate affect the weight loss. And that's when we started to look at these triterpene molecules more, these Unimate or these yerba mate specific saponins. And we found that they're associated with fat burning. And when we ingest these triterpene molecules, we actually increase our body's ability to burn fat. So we started to study this further. And we found that when we drink Unimate, if we're in a fasted state, ketone levels rise significantly in our body. So what are ketones? Ketones are kind of like the version of sugar that your body uses when it's burning fat as a fuel instead of burning carbohydrates as fuel. When your body's burning fat as fuel, your brain can't use fat as a fuel. So your body has to convert the fat into ketones so that your brain can use those ketones as fuel. And this is one of the reasons why we start to feel fatigued when we don't get enough carbohydrates. This is one of the reasons why if we don't eat for too long, we start to not feel as good. We start to feel mentally not quite all there. And if we can increase the amount of ketones in our bloodstream, especially in this fasted state, we're not going to feel hungry as often. We're going to be able to make it in between meals. We're going to be able to take advantage of the 4-4-12 type diet system where we have enough time in between our meals for our insulin levels to reset back to normal. So this is a great advantage there. But it's also a great advantage in terms of overall weight loss. And we know that particularly in the United States, but really spreading throughout the world, there is an obesity epidemic. Greater than 30% of the population of the United States, much greater than 30% of the population of the United States is considered obese. Over 60% of the population is considered over fat. So we have a dramatic problem in the United States and a problem that's spreading worldwide with people having too much fat on their bodies. And this has led to all sorts of problems. and one of the key factors in the rise of metabolic syndrome, which we've talked about in the past. Now, I want you guys to picture your body as a tanker truck full of gasoline. We have a little engine that's full of gas that the truck is actually using to drive, but we have this many thousands of gallons of gasoline that the truck is hauling around that it can't use. That's a lot like what our body is. The fuel tank is what our body's using to get around, but we're carrying around a whole bunch of extra fuel that we don't know how to access. The fuel that we use in our bodies is sugar, and that's like what the gas tank is. The fuel that we're carrying around that we don't really know how to use, that's fat. So how much sugar can we carry around with us? How much sugar can we use to store? How much sugar can we store to use it at any given time? Well, most people have about a half a day to a day's worth of calories in sugar stored in their body. Now, I'm not incredibly overweight. I might be a little bit overweight, but I'm fairly lean. I'm maybe 15-ish% body fat, and I weigh about 220 pounds. That means I've got about 40 pounds of sugar on me, or 40 pounds of fat on my body. And every pound of fat that I have is a little over 3,000 calories worth of fuel. So I have over a month worth of fuel in fat stored on my body. It's not all fat that I can access and use because some fat is necessary, but I have a significantly larger store of fat on my body. So I need to learn how to access this fat. And that's something that we're finding that Unimate has the ability to teach your body how to do. This is something that's been very critical in the way that we think about products that Unicity is making, the way that we're thinking about weight loss, and the way that we're thinking about the future. Because if we can have a product that teaches our body how to burn fat more efficiently, then we have a revolutionary product as far as helping the world with the obesity crisis. So Unimate is truly a Make Life Better product. It's a Make Life Better product purely because of the effects on mood. That's really how this all started. We know Unimate boosts mood, and that is a great thing. We love Unimate for it. That's the reason why I take Unimate every day. I also take Unimate because I love the sports performance aspect. That is a great benefit of Unimate, and I use Unimate in association with my trainings and my competition. The third thing is we know that Unimate helps with burning fat. And if we can have a product that we can take that makes us feel better, makes us be able to move better and do more, and helps us burn fat more efficiently, helps teach our bodies how to burn fat in a better way, then we truly have a Make Life Better product. We truly have a product that can help our bodies bridge the gap between where we are now, where we want to be. We truly have a product that can help you change the world. So thank you very much for listening. I do have a couple of questions that have been collected by the Unicity America's sales team. And these are the most common questions that we hear about Unimate. And I'm going to go ahead and answer those right now. The first question is, how much caffeine does Unimate have? And that's kind of a complicated question because we don't really standardize the amount of caffeine. It's not something that we're looking for. It's not really part mechanistically of how Unimate works, but it does have some caffeine in it, and it ranges. But what we say is it has about as much caffeine as a cup of coffee. So it does have some caffeine. It's not a huge amount, but it's not negligible either. The second question that we get a lot is, when should I take Unimate? And this is actually kind of an interesting question as well, because Unimate apparently has different effects on different people. For me, if I take Unimate after around noon, I have trouble sleeping, not because of the caffeine in Unimate. I can drink matcha energy at 2 o'clock, and that has more caffeine than Unimate, but I still can fall asleep at night because my body is fairly caffeine adapted. Unimate has chlorogenic acids in it. It also makes your body produce more ketones. both of these things make your brain function a little bit better, and your brain just tends to run more efficiently. So sometimes you close your eyes and your brain won't shut off. And that's what happens to me when I'm taking Unimate. So for me, I always take Unimate before noon. So I recommend in the morning. I also recommend taking Unimate before your workouts if possible, because it does improve your workouts. There are some people that really don't get a significant effect on sleep with Unimate. They can take it right before they go to bed, and if anything, it helps them sleep better. If you're like that, that's fine. But for me and for most people, I recommend taking it in the morning, before noon, before your workout, maybe between breakfast and lunch as an in-between meal snack. Those are kind of the best times to take it. If you really want to take advantage of that ketone boosting effect, then you take it in the morning when you're fasted, and then you stretch out, maybe do an intermittent fasting style diet, or you eat a high fat, high protein breakfast, and then you take your Unimate after that, and you have a ketone boost, and it helps your body get from breakfast to lunch and keep your insulin low throughout the entire morning. The third question, the last question that I get about Unimate fairly frequently is, what is the difference between Unimate and matcha? And there really is a dramatic difference between the two products. Matcha is a product that is geared towards cellular energy. Matcha interacts with mitochondria in our cells to make our cells produce more energy. This is an amazing benefit. It increases the amount of energy that we have. It increases our base metabolic rate. It makes our cells run more efficiently. When I'm talking about matcha, I like to say that it's like, rather than putting more gasoline in your engine, it's like fixing your engine so that it runs further on less gasoline or on the same amount of gasoline. Unimate is totally different. It's not really affecting your engine in the same way. It's more affecting your brain, your perception. It makes you feel like you can do more. It makes you feel more productive. And then Unimate is also having these other side benefits with improving the body's ability to produce ketones, and also improving the body's ability to burn fat. So that's really the distinction. They're quite different products, even though in a sense they both make me feel more awake and more energetic, quote unquote. One is an energy product, the other is a perception product. So they're very different. That's all the questions that I have. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up there. We're going to continue with these monthly learning meetings, and these are all going to be recorded. So hopefully once we get them looked at by our quality groups and everything, we can have them up posted so that you guys can take a look at them, so that your downline can take a look at them, and so that we can all learn more about the products and continue going forward. Thank you very much for listening. I hope to see you guys all next time. Bye.